The moment I opened my front door, my legs nearly gave out. My 6-year-old daughter, trembling so violently her little fingers twitched, was standing on our porch, holding a gun. And right behind her, breathing heavily, eyes wild with hatred, stood HOA Karen, gripping my daughter's shoulders and hissing, "Pointed at your mother. Now!" My heart stopped, my world froze, and the next 5 seconds changed everything. Before I jump into this nightmare, I need to talk to you, the person watching this right now. I want to know something very real, very personal. Which city are you watching my video from? Type your city's name in the comments. I genuinely read and love every reply. And before we start, if you care about justice, family, and standing up against cruelty, hit that subscribe button so this message reaches more people who need to hear it. All right, let's begin. My name is Mia. I'm a single mother raising a bright, imaginative little girl named Lily. We had moved to Oak Ridge Pines, a supposedly peaceful gated community, to start a new life after my husband passed away. I believed we were finally safe. I believed my daughter would finally have some normalcy. But I had no idea that right next door lived the cruelest, most unhinged HOA member this neighborhood had ever seen. Karen Whitmore, a woman who treated rules like weapons and families like enemies. She hated children. She hated noise. She hated anyone who didn't bow to her fake sense of power. And she especially hated me, simply because I refused to be intimidated by her. I thought her threats were just empty words. I thought her tantrums were just petty HOA nonsense. But I was wrong. Dead wrong. Because the day she took my daughter, the day she forced that weapon into her tiny hands, was the day I realized Karen wasn't just a bully. She was dangerous, unstable, and capable of doing the unthinkable. This is what happened. Lily had been unusually quiet that morning. She's usually the kid who wakes up the sun, running around, singing, asking me if birds sleep with their eyes open. But that day, she just stared at her cereal bowl, stirring it slowly. "Sweetheart," I sat beside her. "Bad dream." She didn't answer right away. She just pulled her knees up and whispered, "Mom, do bad people ever watch us when we play outside?" A chill worked its way up my spine. "Why would you ask that, honey?" She hesitated, then shrugged, just wondering. I kissed her forehead, packed her lunch, and told her everything was okay. But deep down, something felt off. By noon, I found out I was right. I was folding laundry when I heard a knock. Not a normal knock, a frantic, pounding, desperate knock. The kind that only happens when something is very, very wrong. MOM. Lily's voice broke through the door. I rushed to open it, but as soon as I cracked it open, my heart nearly exploded. Lily wasn't alone. Standing behind her, blocking her escape, was HOA Karen. Her hair was frizzy, her shirt soaked with sweat, and her eyes were wide with a deranged excitement I had never seen before. But the worst part, Lily was holding a gun. Her little hands were shaking so violently I could hear the metal rattling. "Karen," I whispered, my voice cracking, "what are you doing?" "Oh, please," she said, shoving Lily forward. "Don't act innocent. You think you can break HOA rules and get away with it? Today, you learn consequences. Put the gun down," I told my daughter gently. "She moves, she dies." Karen screamed. Lily whimpered. My blood iced. "Karen," I said slowly, "where did you even get that weapon? Does it matter?" Karen hissed. "Your daughter is going to fix your disrespect once and for all." She leaned down to Lily's ear, pointed at her. "Now." Lily sobbed. "Mommy, I don't want to." My chest caved. "Baby, look at me. It's okay. Put down." Karen snapped. "Do it." She grabbed Lily's wrists and forced her arms up until the barrel was aimed directly at my chest. I felt something break inside me. Not fear, not panic. Something else, something sharper. A mother's instinct. An instinct older than fear, older than logic, the instinct to protect. My hands slowly raised. "Karen, you don't want to do this." "Oh, yes I do," she spat. "You think you can ignore me? You think your daughter can play on the sidewalk without MY permission?" Today you learn who controls this community. Her grip tightened on Lily's arms. My daughter screamed, "Mommy, it's heavy. I can't hold it." I stepped forward instinctively. "Don't move." Karen shrieked, and then I saw something that made my veins run cold. Karen's other hand, hidden behind her, was holding a small remote. A garage door opener? No, not a garage door opener. I recognized it. A panic trigger. She was threatening something bigger. "Karen," I whispered, "what is that?" She smiled, wide, manic, unhinged. "Oh, you'll find out." The barrel trembled an inch closer to my heart. Lily's tears streamed down her cheeks as she sobbed. "I don't want to hurt you." "You won't," I said quietly. "I promise." My phone was on the counter inside. Too far. The neighbors? Nowhere in sight. The street? Empty. It was just us and a ticking nightmare. Then Karen leaned forward and whispered words that sliced through the air like knives. "Your husband died protecting you. Let's see if your little girl survives doing the same." Something inside me snapped. I lunged. Lily screamed. Karen shouted. The gun wobbled. And then, a sound behind Karen. A loud crack. Wood splintering. Someone else had entered the scene. And everything was about to change. The crack came again, louder this time, like someone slamming a bat into a wooden fence. Karen jerked her head toward the noise just for a second. And in that tiny second, Lily's shaking arms dropped half an inch. Half an inch, but enough for me to see hope. "Stay still." Karen snarled and yanked Lily's wrists back up. Lily cried out in pain as her thin arms strained under the weight of the gun. "Mom," she sobbed, her voice cracking apart like glass. "I'm right here, baby," I whispered. "I'm right here." The sound came again. Crack. This time followed by a deep, furious growl. Karen stiffened. Her face went pale for the first time. That sound, I knew it. It wasn't a person. It was Bear, our neighbor's massive German shepherd. A trained protection dog. A dog that listened to only two people, the owner and me, because I'd helped train him. Because Bear loved Lily like she was his own pup. And right now, Bear sounded like he wanted to tear someone in half. Karen whipped her head toward the backyard gate. "Stay back," she shrieked at the fence, as if a dog understood English, but Bear understood tone, and he understood fear. Another growl vibrated through the fence, long and low like thunder. The gate rattled violently. Karen panicked. Her hand, holding the remote, trembled. The gun dipped slightly. I took a breath. A slow, careful, controlled breath. "Karen," I said softly, "the dog thinks you're hurting her. He's trained to protect Lily." Karen's eyes widened. She looked around wildly. "He can't get in," she snapped. The gate latch clicked. Karen froze. Because the latch wasn't clicking from Bear's side. It was being lifted from inside our yard. A shadow slipped through. A small one. Tiny shoes. A small silhouette. A familiar ponytail. My breath left me all at once. It was Emily, the neighbor's 8-year-old daughter, Lily's best friend, standing there, holding the side gate open with both hands. Her face was white as chalk. "Bear, come," she whispered shakily, and Bear came, exploding through the opening with a roar so deep the ground seemed to vibrate under us. The German shepherd's teeth were bared, eyes locked on Karen. Karen screamed. The panic remote dropped to the floor. Her grip on Lily loosened. For a split second, and in that split second, Lily collapsed to her knees, dropping the gun. It clattered against the porch with a heavy metallic thud. Karen lunged for it. Bear lunged for her. I lunged for Lily. Everything happened at once. Karen tripped over the welcome mat, slamming face first into the porch railing. Bear snapped at her arm, teeth clamping onto her sleeve. Not biting, just holding, restraining, trained to subdue. "Bear, hold!" Emily shouted with a voice much stronger than her size. Bear froze, still gripping Karen's sleeve, keeping her pinned. Karen shrieked, "Get this beast off me! Get him off! He's going to kill me!" I swept Lily into my arms, feeling her tiny body stumble against me. She clung to my neck, shaking violently. "It's okay, baby," I whispered, kissing her head again and again. "You're safe. You're safe. Her sobs soaked into my shirt. My own breath was shaky, but I couldn't break. Not yet. Karen kicked and flailed beneath Bear, panting like a trapped animal. Call the police, she screamed. I stared at her, stunned by the audacity. You kidnapped my daughter, I said, my voice colder than winter. You brought a loaded gun to my home. You threatened us. And now you want me to call the police? Karen spat in my direction. I am the HOA. I am the rules. You think the police will believe you over me? Emily stepped up beside me, her tiny body trembling but her voice steady. I recorded everything. Karen froze. Emily held up her pink cell phone, its screen still glowing. Karen's face drained of color. You little brat. Emily swallowed hard but didn't back down. My mom said if anybody touched Lily again, we had to record it. I felt a wave of gratitude, so strong my knees almost buckled. But then something else happened. Something I didn't notice until a sound echoed from a side street. Sirens. Multiple. Loud. Close. Karen's eyes widened. No. I didn't do anything. She's lying. But her screaming didn't matter. Because just then, the police cruisers pulled into our street, the blue and red lights swirling across every house. Doors swung open. Officers jumped out. And then I saw who was leading them. Sheriff Blake, Emily's father. His face was a storm. When he saw Karen pinned under his own dog, he didn't even blink. He walked right up, voice booming. Bear, release. Bear instantly let go and stepped back. Karen scrambled back like a cockroach. Help me, she screamed to the officers. They set me up. That little girl, she. Sheriff Blake spoke with the coldest calm I'd ever heard. Karen Whitmore, you are under arrest for child endangerment, kidnapping, assault, possession of an unregistered firearm, and threatening the life of a minor. Karen's mouth fell open. You can't arrest me. I run this neighborhood. No, Blake said, snapping the cuffs on her wrists. You ruin it. As Karen screamed, flailed, and cursed at everyone in sight, Lily clutched my shirt tighter. I held her closer, shielding her from the chaos. Emily slipped her hand into Lily's. And for the first time since this nightmare began, Lily didn't pull away. She squeezed back. But even though Karen was in handcuffs, even though Lily was safe, even though the gun was out of her hands, something inside me whispered, this isn't over. There's something deeper behind Karen's madness, and the truth hasn't surfaced yet. And I was right, because the real shock, the real twist was still coming. Even after Karen was shoved into the back of the patrol car, still screeching like a feral animal, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Lily's tiny fingers were knotted in my shirt, and every breath she took felt like a silent cry. Sheriff Blake approached slowly, lowering himself to Lily's eye level. Hey, kiddo, he said softly. You're safe now. But Lily buried her face deeper into my shoulder and whimpered. She didn't want to see anyone. She didn't want to hear anyone. She didn't want to remember. I stroked her hair gently. Let's get her inside, Blake said quietly, away from all this. Inside, I sat on the couch with Lily curled into me like a trembling kitten. Emily sat beside us, holding Lily's hand with both of hers, like she was trying to keep her grounded. Blake stood near the doorway, arms crossed, the deep lines on his face carved even deeper. Mia, he finally said, I need to ask something difficult. I nodded, still stroking Lily's back. Go ahead. Did Karen say anything about where she got the gun? I froze, because she had. Her words echoed back to me like poison. Does it matter? Yes, I whispered. She said it didn't matter. Blake exhaled sharply, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Damn it. What's wrong? I asked. He hesitated, then looked at me with a weight in his eyes I'd never seen before. That wasn't just any gun, he said. It's a police-issued Glock. The same model our department uses. My blood turned cold. What are you saying? I'm saying, Blake replied, that the weapon wasn't just illegal. It was ours. One of ours. Someone gave it to her, or she stole it. Emily gasped. Lily whimpered and clutched me tighter. That's not even the worst part, Blake continued. 2 nights ago, one of our evidence lockers was broken into. Broken into? I repeated. He nodded grimly. We thought it was a random trespasser. But now it's looking like it wasn't random at all. The room went silent. You think Karen had help? I said quietly. I don't think it, Blake replied. I'm sure of it. A shiver crawled up my spine. Karen wasn't smart enough to break into a police storage facility, and she wasn't crazy enough to do it alone, which meant someone else, someone dangerous, someone with access, was part of this. And we weren't dealing with a simple HOA meltdown anymore. You said she had a trigger remote, I whispered. What was that for? Blake swallowed. That's what we're trying to figure out. Before I could ask more, his radio crackled. Sheriff, we found something near the suspect's vehicle. Go on, Blake answered. A metal case. Locked. Marked with police inventory stickers. My heart sank to the floor. Another item stolen from evidence. Blake and I locked eyes. This goes far beyond Karen, he said. This is organized. What does Karen have to do with any of that? I asked, voice trembling. He shook his head slowly. I don't know, but she kept yelling something on the way to the station. What? Blake hesitated. Then he said the words that made my stomach twist. She kept screaming, You promised you wouldn't let them take me. Them. Not her. Not the HOA board. Not neighbors. Them. Someone behind the scenes. Someone Karen feared more than prison. More than losing her so-called power. Someone she trusted enough to get a stolen police gun from. And someone who promised to protect her. In exchange for something, I felt sick. As if sensing it, Lily suddenly whispered into my ear. Mommy, she said someone told her to do it. I stiffened. Lily never mentioned this before. Baby, who told her? She sniffled, still shaking. I don't know his name, but she kept saying, He said your mom doesn't belong here. He said we have to teach her. Blake's jaw tightened. Did Karen ever mention a man before? He asked. I shook my head. No, never. Emily raised her hand slightly. I heard her talk to someone once. We both looked at her. It was the day she yelled at you for parking too close to her mailbox, Emily whispered. She was talking to some man on her porch. He wore a black jacket and sunglasses. He kept looking around like he didn't want anyone to see him. What did they say? Blake asked. Emily swallowed hard. I didn't hear everything, but I heard him say, just follow the plan. And she said, she won't listen to the HOA. We have to scare her. My heart stopped. Emily continued, voice trembling, and the man said, Good. The more fear, the better. The room went dead silent. Fear? Fear for what? Fear for who? What was the plan? What was the purpose? Blake pulled out his notebook and scribbled quickly. I need to run something by you, he said. Something from the break-in. I nodded. In the footage we saw someone tall, Blake said. Male, wearing a dark hood. The break-in was clean, professional. Not the work of a lunatic. And you think Karen knew him, I whispered. I think Karen was working for him. My skin prickled. Blake leaned closer. And I think you were the target. The words hit me like a punch. But why? I asked, voice breaking. Why would anyone go after me? Blake didn't answer immediately. Instead, he asked, Mia, has anyone from your past contacted you recently? Anyone unusual? Anything strange happened before all this? My mind scrambled through the last months. The move, the adjustment, Lily starting school, new neighbors, Karen's harassment. Nothing. But one memory drifted in. Something I brushed off at the time. Something I shouldn't have. A week ago, I whispered. I got a letter. No return address. No name. Just a message. What message? Blake pressed. My breathing quickened. I remembered the words exactly, because they chilled me that day. And now they made perfect, horrifying sense. I whispered, You can't hide forever. Blake went still. Emily's eyes widened, and Lily clung to me like she felt the danger in those words. Because this wasn't random. This wasn't a neighborhood dispute. This wasn't an HOA problem. Someone from my past had found me. And Karen was just the beginning. The room felt smaller with every second that passed, like the walls were slowly closing in. My hands were numb. My heart was hammering so loud I could barely hear myself think. Blake leaned forward. Mia, whoever sent that letter, whoever broke into the evidence room, whoever gave Karen that gun, they're connected. But why me? I whispered. I've never done anything to anyone. Blake's eyes softened, but only for a moment. Mia, you've been through a lot. Lost your husband. Moved here for safety. But is there anything at all that could make someone target you? I swallowed hard. No, nothing. But that wasn't true. Not entirely. There was something buried deep enough I'd forced myself not to think about it for years. And now it was clawing its way back. But before I could speak, the front door burst open, and Blake's deputy rushed in, breathless, panicked, holding a thick manila folder. Sheriff, you need to see this. Blake snatched the folder and flipped it open. His eyebrows pulled together. Then they shot upward. Oh, hell! What? I asked, heart pounding. He turned the folder toward me. Inside were printed surveillance photos. Of me, taken from across the street, outside the grocery store, at Lily's school, near my backyard. My voice cracked. These are recent. 2 months' worth, the deputy said. We found them in the metal case next to Karen's car. Emily gasped. Lily whimpered and clung to me so hard her fingers dug into my arm. Who would do this? I whispered. Blake shook his head. Not Karen. She's not organized enough. But someone was using her. He flipped another page. Another photo. Me carrying groceries. Someone had circled my face in red ink. Red ink. The kind people use to mark targets. I swallowed, my throat burning. Sheriff, I whispered. What is happening? Before he could answer, his radio crackled again. We found something else. He pressed the button. What is it? The remote Karen dropped? It's not a panic device. My stomach twisted. It's a detonator. Blake shot up to his feet. Detonator for what? He barked. We found a rigged device under the hood of the victim's car. It wasn't triggered, but it was armed. My breath died in my chest. My car, where Lily's booster seat sat, where I drove her daily, where she kept her stuffed unicorn tucked in the back. I felt faint. Someone had placed an explosive in my car. Someone who wanted me gone. My knees buckled and I sat back down, gripping Lily tight. Emily covered her mouth, eyes wide with terror. Blake's voice hardened into iron. Mia, this wasn't meant to scare you. He paused. This was meant to kill you. A cold wave washed over me. But why? I whispered. Why would anyone want to kill me? I'm just a normal person. Blake looked away for a moment, thinking, connecting dots. Then he asked a question I never expected. Mia, what did your husband do for a living? My heart twisted painfully. He was an accountant. Blake shook his head. No, I mean before that. I froze, because before that, before our quiet life, before our move, before the heart failure that took him away, before everything, my husband worked for something else, something secretive, something that had forced us to move for safety the first time, something I had pushed so far out of my mind I pretended it never existed. I swallowed. He worked for the Department of Justice, and before that, he was part of a financial crimes task force. Blake's face darkened instantly. Mia, he said slowly, carefully, was your husband involved in any cases against organized groups? My breath trembled. He mentioned a man once. Someone dangerous. Someone he said we needed to avoid. What was his name? I don't know. He never told me. He said the less I knew, the safer I'd be. Blake cursed under his breath. That explains everything. Explains what? I snapped, my voice cracking with fear. He turned to me, voice low, urgent. Mia, when government agents bust big crime networks, those networks don't forget. Even years later. They wait. They watch. They track. And sometimes they go after family. A lump formed in my throat. You think this is revenge for my husband's work? I think, Blake said grimly, Your husband put someone extremely dangerous behind bars. Someone who has connections on the outside. Someone with access. Someone who just broke into an evidence locker to steal a gun. And used Karen to carry out the attack, I whispered. Blake nodded. She wasn't the mastermind. She was a pawn. A pawn. My stomach twisted. Karen didn't wake up wanting to hurt Lily. Someone told her to. Someone manipulated her. Someone promised her protection. Sheriff, the deputy called. We have one more thing. Blake glared. What now? The deputy hesitated, then held up a letter. Identical envelope. Identical handwriting. I felt sick. Where did you find that? Blake asked. In the metal case. It's addressed to the suspect. Blake took it and opened it. He read silently. Then his face drained. Sheriff, I asked. He didn't answer. Blake, what does it say? He finally looked at me. Slowly, gravely, and read the message out loud. Phase 1 failed. Proceed to Phase 2. The girl is the key. My heart stopped. Lily's small body pressed closer to mine, and suddenly everything inside me screamed. This wasn't over. This wasn't even close. Someone wanted my daughter, and they were just getting started. For a long moment, nobody in the room breathed. Phase 2. The girl is the key. Those 6 words echoed inside my skull like a death sentence. I tightened my arms around Lily, as if someone might try to rip her from me right that second. She whimpered softly, her face buried in my chest. Emily clung to my sleeve, too, her small hand shaking. Even she felt the danger in those words. Sheriff Blake stood frozen, staring at the letter like it was dripping poison. Finally, he whispered, "This changes everything." My voice cracked. "Blake, what does that even mean? What do they want with my daughter?" He lowered the letter and met my eyes. "Mia," he said slowly, "what if they never intended to kill Lily?" My stomach twisted. His voice lowered further, dark and heavy. "What if they wanted to take her?" A violent wave of nausea hit me. No, why would they do that? She's a child. Why? Blake took a breath. The letter says she's the key. To what? I snapped. We don't know yet. The deputy stepped forward. "Sheriff, there's something else." His voice was trembling. Blake turned sharply. "What now?" The deputy swallowed. "In Karen's purse, we found a photo." He held it out with gloved fingers. I didn't want to look. Every muscle in my body resisted, but I had to. My hand shook as I took the photo, and when I saw it, my vision blurred. My knees buckled. My soul cracked open. It was a picture of Lily. Not recent, not from Oak Ridge Pines, but from 3 years ago, taken outside our old apartment, before the move, before the new life. A photo no one should have. A photo no enemy should have. I clamped a hand over my mouth to stop the scream. "Where did she get this?" I whispered through trembling lips. Blake answered quietly, "Whoever is behind this has been watching your daughter for a long time." My heart shattered into shards. "Why?" I begged. "Why her? Why a little girl?" Blake didn't know. None of US did. But he knew one thing for certain. They're escalating. They already attempted Phase 1. Now, they're moving to Phase 2. And we don't know what Phase 2 is. The deputy added, "Sheriff, the back of the photo. There's writing." I froze. Writing? I turned the picture over. My blood ran cold. 3 words. Just 3. Written in jagged black ink. "She belongs here." My voice came out in a whisper. "Belongs where?" Blake took the photo and examined it. "I don't know, but they're not planning something random. This is organized, specific, targeted, and they're not done." Emily suddenly burst into tears. I'm scared," she cried, collapsing into Lily. "I don't want anything to happen to her." Her cry snapped Lily out of her frozen fear. She hugged Emily back, shaking just as hard. I felt the 2 little girls clinging to each other, and something inside me, the part that was terrified, began to transform. Transform into something else. A different kind of fear. A harder kind. A mother's rage. No one, and no one, was going to take my child. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever. Blake noticed the shift in my eyes. Mia, he said quietly, we need to secure you both. We need to relocate you, temporarily. Somewhere safe. No, I said through gritted teeth. I'm not running again. Blake frowned. This isn't about pride. This is about... I know what it's about. I snapped, but running didn't help last time. They still found us. They still came for her. He stared at me for a long moment. Mia, this isn't just some petty threat. These people broke into a police evidence room. They planted a bomb in your car. They used Karen to get close to your daughter. These aren't amateurs. And I'm not a helpless victim. I shot back. His jaw clenched. You're a mother. And mothers make emotional decisions. I stepped forward, eyes blazing. And emotional decisions are exactly what keep children alive. The deputy cleared his throat nervously. Sheriff, there's something we haven't told her yet. Blake turned sharply. What is it? The deputy hesitated. Your daughter, he said to me slowly, wasn't the only one they photographed. My stomach nodded. Who else? He opened the folder. And there, laid out in cold, glossy prints, were photos of me, at the grocery store, at the mailbox, walking Lily to school, inside my kitchen window, and one more, one that made my blood freeze solid, a photo of me sleeping, taken from inside my house. Lily whimpered, clutching my arm. Emily cried harder, and I felt the last shred of safety I ever believed I had shatter into dust. They've been inside my home, I whispered. Blake nodded grimly. We found signs of forced entry on your back window. They broke in days ago, maybe weeks. A fresh wave of horror washed through me. What did they do? I whispered. What were they looking for? Blake shook his head. No idea. But, Mia, this house? It's compromised. I closed my eyes. This home, our sanctuary, our fresh start, invaded, violated, used to watch us like prey. And the worst part? They weren't finished. Blake stepped closer, lowering his voice. We need to get you somewhere safe. Tonight. I opened my eyes slowly. No, I whispered. I'm not leaving. Mia. I'm not leaving until I know why they want my daughter, I said. I want answers, and I want them now. Blake exhaled. Hard. You want answers? He said. Fine. Then there's something you need to know. He removed his hat. His voice dropped low, colder than I'd ever heard it. 3 years ago, your husband helped put a man in prison. A very powerful man. A man with connections everywhere. Someone who vowed revenge. I swallowed hard. And Blake looked directly into my eyes and said the words that made the room vanish and the world go still. That man escaped from prison last week. The world tilted. Everything inside me went hollow, like the air had been pulled out of the room and out of my chest. Blake's words echoed again. That man escaped from prison last week. The light in the room flickered. Somewhere distant, a dog barked. Emily whimpered. Lily's nails dug into my arm. But I couldn't feel anything except the ice spreading slowly under my skin. How? I whispered, barely recognizing my own voice. How did he escape? I thought he was in maximum security. Blake nodded tightly. He was, but he had help. Inside help. Someone with clearance. Someone who opened doors that should have stayed locked. My heartbeat hammered irregularly, my throat closing. And he's coming after us because of my husband. Blake didn't sugarcoat it. Mia, your husband did more than put that man in prison. He destroyed his entire operation, froze their accounts, identified their suppliers, provided evidence for charges that would have kept them locked up for life. I swallowed hard, my eyes burning. My husband he thought we'd be safe. Blake's eyes softened. He believed it. I'm sure he did. But criminals like this, they don't forget. They don't forgive. He hesitated. They wait. My knees nearly buckled. But why my daughter? I begged. Why is SHE the key? Blake exchanged a look with his deputy. A long, heavy look. Mia, Blake said slowly, the man your husband helped convict had a brother. A brother? I whispered. Yes, and he vanished right after the trial. No trace. No sightings. No activity. He disappeared off the grid. My skin prickled. And you think he's the one behind this? I don't think, Blake said. I know. He reached into the folder and pulled out another photo. My stomach dropped. It was a blurry security camera shot. A tall man. Long dark coat. Sunglasses. The same description Emily gave earlier. But that wasn't what chilled me. Behind him, barely visible, was a child's backpack in his hand. A unicorn backpack. Lily's backpack. I nearly collapsed. How did he get that? I choked. Blake explained. That photo was taken near the school last month. Someone reported a suspicious man. We didn't have enough info then, but now it's clear. My heart broke. That day, the day Lily misplaced her backpack, it wasn't lost. It was taken. By him. To prove he could get close. To prove he was watching. To prove we were never safe. Lily buried her face in my chest, crying softly, "Mommy, I'm scared. I'm so scared." I held her as tightly as I could, kissing her forehead again and again. "You're safe," I whispered. "You're safe. I promise." But my promise felt fragile like thin glass. Blake cleared his throat. "Mia, there's something else." I wasn't sure I could take more. But he continued. "Your husband wasn't just investigating their financial crimes." "What do you mean?" I whispered. "He was investigating their trafficking operations." My breath caught. "No, no, no." He kept talking. "And the man behind this, the one who escaped, he lost millions because of your husband. But more importantly," he paused. "He lost someone he considered an asset." My blood froze. "An asset like what?" Blake inhaled. "Your daughter." It felt like my heart stopped beating. "What?" I whispered. Blake's voice was careful, but firm. "The organization your husband helped bring down had records, detailed records, of children identified across the country for future targets. High-value targets. Children from families with certain backgrounds. Children that could be used, trafficked, or leveraged." My entire soul screamed. "No," I breathed. "No, no. Lily was a baby back then. She wasn't." "They don't care about age," Blake said softly. "They care about vulnerability. About usefulness." Tears blurred my vision. "So, you're saying," I whispered, "that man marked my daughter years ago?" Blake nodded once. My legs gave out. I sank onto the couch, clutching Lily with every ounce of strength I had left. Emily was crying quietly beside me. The deputy looked down at his shoes. Blake continued, voice heavy. "When your husband discovered that list, when he uncovered their plans, he destroyed it. Burned every copy. Exposed every name. Saved dozens of kids." I swallowed a sob. "Then why is my daughter still on their radar?" "Because," Blake said, the man who escaped, believed Lily was already promised to someone overseas. Your husband destroyed that deal. And that kind of hit, criminals never forget." My vision went black for a moment. "So phase 1 was Karen forcing her to aim the gun?" I whispered. "Yes," Blake said. "A test. A warning. Proof they could use anyone to get close." "And phase 2? I choked. Blake's jaw clenched. "We think it involves taking her. Using her. Trading her. Or worse." My scream died in my throat. "No," I whispered, trembling violently, over my dead body. Blake kneeled in front of me. "Mia, listen to me carefully. We're placing your home under federal protection. Witness security will be here within the hour. You and your daughter will be transported to a secure location." "I'm not running again," I whispered. Blake shook his head. "You won't be running. You'll be protected. Federal-level protection. Until this man is found." I hesitated. Looked at Lily. Looked at Emily crying beside her. Looked at the photos scattered on the table, the surveillance, the backpacks, the threats. This wasn't cowardice. This was survival. I nodded slowly. "Okay," I whispered. "We'll go." Blake exhaled with relief. He stood and spoke into his radio. "Secure the perimeter. No one in or out. Lock this street down." Officers outside moved immediately. I held Lily close, kissed the top of her head, whispered, "I'm going to protect you. With everything I am. But as I breathed her in, as tears dripped onto her hair, I saw something move outside the window. A shadow, a tall one, watching, waiting. The escape man. He was already here, and he wasn't leaving without her. And that, my friends, is where our world turned upside down. That shadow outside the window, that was the moment I realized this fight isn't over. Not for me, not for my daughter, not for any parent watching this right now. If you've been with me through this entire story, I want to say something straight from my heart. Hug your children, protect your family, and never ignore your instincts. Because danger doesn't always knock at the door. Sometimes it hides in plain sight. If this story shook you, if it made your heart pound, if it made you feel even a fraction of what I felt, as a mother, drop a comment with your city so I know where my real supporters are watching from. Hit like so this story can reach the people who need to hear it. Make sure you subscribe because more real, raw, emotional stories like this are coming, and trust me, the next one will shock you even more. Your support is everything. Your comments tell the algorithm our stories matter. Your subscription tells me you want more. Stay safe, stay aware, and remember, a mother's fight never ends, and neither will mine. See you in the next story.